Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, August 18th, 2019. This is episode 1619. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Simply Safe. Simply Safe protects every door, window, and room with 24/7 professional monitoring. Visit simplysafe.com/twit for free shipping and a money-back guarantee. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Oh, yeah, time for the Tech Guy show. Time for the Tech Guy. This is the show. I'm going to be silly today, I could tell. This is the show where we talk about computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. You know, technology. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. You can reach me outside those areas still by using Skype out, and that should be a toll-free call to a toll-free number in the U.S., 8888 Ask Leo. There's a website, techguylabs.com. Why do we have a website? Because I don't want you to be taking notes while you're driving at 60 miles an hour. So what and I know some of you will, but don't, because you don't have to, because everything I say, including all the links so that you can just click them, are put on the website. James DeRuvo is taking a little time off, I think, today, but he'll get in by the end of the day and get it all, because we record the show. It's a miracle. And then if you hear something, you don't have to write it down. You just go to techguylabs.com. And that's free, by the way. You might think, I know you do, because we're all cynical. Oh, Leo, he just wants us to go to the website so he could charge us. But I don't, and I won't. It's just there. It's free. techguylabs.com. You could thank our fine sponsors for making that possible. Those are nice advertisers. There's just enough money from them to pay for a website as well as me. By the way, that site also has a place where you can leave comments, also free. We do ask you sign up, use your Google or Twitter or Facebook account. And the only reason we do that is to keep spammers from filling the place up. You know how spammers be. No charge, always there, good search, 24/7, techguylabs.com. Do not use Kaspersky antivirus, I think is kind of a recurring theme. Now I just found out in 2015, Kaspersky did a little update. And by default, anytime if you have Kaspersky installed, it's an antivirus. If you have it installed by default, every time you go to a web page, it runs a little JavaScript code on your computer that inserts a unique ID, just all yours, your unique ID into the website, into the web URL. So I'm not sure why they did that. I'm sure they have some security reason, but the upshot is that anybody on any website will see exactly who you are, could keep track of that ID, know when you come back, and if they own any sites, they can compare and contrast, and it's just another way to track you on the web. Kaspersky put this into their antivirus in 2015 when they were alerted to this by a security researcher. Actually, it was by the German security site heise.de, a magazine for computer technology. When they were alerted to this, they said, oh, we're sorry, we'll turn that off. It still does it, but now the ID that it sticks in there is the same for everybody. Well, I guess they can't track you, but why are they doing that? I don't know. You can, if you use Kaspersky, I wouldn't recommend it. But you can, and think of the ways that it could be used. Even if it doesn't identify uniquely, it still tells anybody, any site that you go to, you're using Kaspersky. So that site could, for instance, pop up a little thing that says, oh, your Kaspersky is expired, enter your credit card number here to renew. And, you'd be none the wiser. Disable it if you insist on using Kaspersky, which you shouldn't. If you shouldn't, click the settings icon in the bottom left corner of the main window. Click Additional Network. Uncheck the quote, inject script into web traffic to interact with web pages option. It's under traffic processing. Really? Really? So that's on by default. What are you using that stuff for? You don't need it. If you're using Windows 10, you've got an antivirus. Perfectly good antivirus provided by Microsoft. I'm not saying it's not spying on you, but it's in there, so you might as well use that. And forget the Kaspersky. There's all sorts of issues with Kaspersky. There has been for some time, including their relationship with the Russian secret police. It's a Russian company, and that bugs me too. It's a little weird. So just a little word of warning. I'm glad to see that Moore's Law is not going to come to an end. What? Oh no, I found out. I read a post from the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company, better known as TSMC. They make chips for a lot of companies, including Apple. And they are I think they were the very first to do chips at the 7 nanometer size, 7 billionths of a meter. And to give you some idea of where we stand right now, I'll translate nanometers into angstroms because, well, that's how they do it. A water molecule is 2.75 angstroms. That's 0.275 nanometers. 2.75 angstroms. 0.275 nanometers. We are now at 7 nanometers. We are effectively, and we're going to get smaller, by the way. We're going to get to 20 nanometers. That's the typical transistors, 20 nanometers. The wires connecting them are 7 nanometers. That means, we're on the order about 5 times, maybe 4 times the width of a water molecule. What? Wow. And that's why some people said Moore's Law is over, because Moore's Law says, it has said since the 60s, and it's been true since the 60s, the number of transistors you can put on a chip will double every 18 months. That roughly means the power of a processor will double, or the storage of RAM will double every year and a half. And it has happened. And doubling is powerful because it doubles in a year and a half, quadruples in 3 years. You get the idea? 12 times in 6 years. I mean, I don't know, my math is breaking down at this point, but that's called an exponential rate. And that's what's given us this amazing world that we live in, because they have billions of transmitters, or hundreds of millions of transistors on a single chip. It's not dead, though, according to Godfrey Cheng, who is the head of global marketing. So maybe you want to take this with a grain of salt at TSMC. He said that we are going to continue to grow the density. We pretty much are the smallest we can make these transistors, but one possible use forward is transistors made with 2-dimensional materials instead of silicon as the channel, and maybe even being able to stack multiple layers of transistors. They call them monolithic 3D integrated circuits. We've already seen stacking. That's what Intel's doing with Optane, its memory platform, and Crosspoint. He says you could add a CPU on top of a GPU on top of an AI engine with layers of memory in between. Wow. So good news. Moore's Law is not dead. We may still be able to eke a little more density out of these processors. Wow. It's kind of amazing, the world we live in. And that's what this show's about, is kind of all the things, all the wacky, wild things that this technology can do for us. Including spy on us. But, hey, that's part of the deal. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my number. Let's get talking right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a miracle. She comes in, she works hard, and she is strong as heck. She don't take no Schaffer. It's the unbreakable phone angel, Kim Schaffer. Hello, Kim.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is happening?
Good morning to you. Do you use Windows?
No.
Good.
Only here.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell the boss We got to update our Windows.
I have no idea what version of Windows this computer is. It might be XP or 7. I don't know. Is it XP or 7, John?
Better be Windows 10.
It's not.
Or I'm gonna,
it's definitely not 10.
John, Microsoft has discovered. Listen up, you people. August 13th, 2019, 5 days ago, Microsoft has discovered 4 serious flaws in Windows 10 that the company fears could be weaponized to launch a computer worm targeting PCs and servers around the world. The 4 flaws are wormable. You know what that means? You work in a bar. You know what wormable means.
No.
Not that kind of wormable. It means they could pave the way for malware, I'm reading from PC Magazine, that automatically spreads from one vulnerable machine to the next. In other words, your machine could get bit, and then it would spread throughout the company network without any action on your part. Does that sound good?
No.
No. 2 of these flaws affect Windows 7 SP1 and Windows 8.1 and Windows Server 2008 R2 SP1 and Windows Server 2012. XP is immune, oddly. And then the other 2 affect, I guess, Windows 10 by elimination. So get that August 2019 security update, kids. It's another RDS flaw. There have been many in the last few months. Remote desktop. Windows 10, Windows Server 2019 is also affected. At this time, we have no evidence, says Simon Pope of Microsoft, that these vulnerabilities were known to any third party. You could bet they were. If they've been in there since Windows 7, you could bet they were. And if you this is actually a good idea for everybody listening. Turn off the remote desktop service in your Windows. You don't need it. You don't want it. And it's vulnerable. Okay, I'm sorry.
We should just all go back to the abacus.
I think so. I'm sorry.
Forget all of this stuff.
I didn't mean to interrupt our fine little polite morning conversation, but I thought I forgot to mention that when I started the show, and I thought I'd really better tell people.
No, you put Windows 10 on a machine of mine like 3 years ago.
I'm sorry.
And I don't know how to use it, so it's just been
Good.
off to the side.
Would you like me to put something else on there? Let me get you some Linux.
You told me to put. You said you wanted to put Linux on there, but I don't know how to use that either.
Let me get you a fresh copy of Linux, nice and fresh out of the
just
oven.
on my little Mac.
Yeah, you're probably better off that way. So, you have been answering the phones. I can tell.
Yeah, and Rob in Idaho, Maine.
Oh, I thought it was another way to say it. Idaho, Maine.
Idaho, Maine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to get how do you say that name?
Did you ask him?
Yeah, and I had him spell it for me, but he had to phonetically let me know.
I'm really glad you said it. That's all.
Would you be like Isla Haut?
No.
You would have figured it out, I think.
Idaho. Idaho is how you'd say it in French. Idaho.
Well, it is. He told me it's French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the high island, or the island to the up there. I don't know. Thank you, Kim. Right. Let's ask Rob, because he's from Idaho. Hello, Rob.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Comment ça va?
Eh bien.
Is it? So French would be Idaho.
Yeah, but everybody here on the island calls it Idaho. This is a vacation place.
Oh, nice.
For me and my wife. So
it's an island.
Yeah, it's about 25, 26 miles, nautical miles southwest of Bar Harbor.
Bahaba, I know. Yeah. So how do you get there? You take a boat?
Yep, you do. It's exactly
how nice.
What you do. Yeah, so it's very secluded. I'm actually on a phone, which is POTS, believe it or not.
It actually sounds good. I would like to hear more people call with POTS, plain old telephone service.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good.
It sounds really clear. Yeah.
Thanks.
How do they get POTS from the island? Do they have a big long wire?
Underground cable.
Oh, they do. And it's underwater.
Yeah, and then it's DSL from the central office. And the fact that I can actually see the stream today is phenomenal, because usually the bandwidth has been sucked up by all the people on the island during the summer.
Do you stay there in the winter?
No. This is a summer place. It closes up.
They call it Ela Snow in the winter.
That's right. Yeah.
You could change all the signs. You just give me credit. What can I do for you, Rob?
Well, the question I have is, I got an old MacBook Pro from, I think, 2009. Still works, but I hardly ever use it. But there was an app on it called Insider that you've talked about before.
INSSIDER. Yes.
Yeah, and I can't, and I tried to get it for my MacBook Air that I got into last year, and but I can't find it or have to pay for it. Can I move it?
Only if you have a serial number. I don't think. Well, I don't. See, the problem is usually Insider. We should say the SSID in the middle there stands for your Wi-Fi network ID. It's a really useful tool for kind of. I recommend it if you're having Wi-Fi problems, seeing where you have hotspots or dead spots more likely, and configuring your Wi-Fi. It's really nice. But yeah, it is not free. It's actually expensive. It's $100 a year. So that's Insider Plus. I guess they do have a free personal use version.
Oh, okay.
So you might try that. So here's how programs, especially on the Mac, verify that you paid for it. They often will store in another location the serial number, kind of a hidden location. And so when you register it, they save a file somewhere, and usually in the application support folder of the Macintosh. And then they check that. They may, more recently, programs will actually sign into an activation server via the internet, but that requires internet access, and that's kind of a disadvantage for some people, and particularly for a program like this, which is kind of checking your internet access. I would think that they probably do the former. So you could, if you could figure out where that file is, move it. You might log into MetaGeek, the creators, and see if you have an account, in which case you may have a serial number there.
Oh, okay.
That's the right way to do it.
All right. I don't recall ever having paid.
Well, it used to be free, so it may be that you didn't, in which case just use the personal use version.
All right. It'll still show me my 2.5 and 5 gigahertz.
Absolutely. It'll give what you really want with it is what channels are being used and what the signal's like in various corners of Haut.
Okay. Well, I'll use it at home in Cincinnati because there's no interference up here.
No problem in Haut.
I could fire a gun here and nobody would hear it.
How many people are there during the summer?
During the summer, about 250. In the winter, most of the people are in the lobster fishing business, and it's down to 25.
But the lobstermen don't go home? No.
No, they don't. And the lobster's good here right off the
I bet it's so good.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I bet it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm really jealous. This sounds beautiful. And is it fairly warm in the summer?
Yeah, it can get very hot, actually. Today it's about 65 degrees, high overcast, and it's just been fun to be around. I'm the guy that's been the folk music guy in the air show.
Oh, yeah. I know you, Rob.
Yeah, but...
Hold on a second. Hold on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Sam's coming up. Sorry, Rob. I had to do that.
I understand. I heard the music, and I just wanted to say, I am such a frickin' fan of you. You keep me and on a par with my kids, technically.
Thank you, Rob. I'm a fan of yours. I got to come to one of your folk performances.
Oh my gosh!
I love the Kingston Trio. I mean, I love that kind of music. It's my.
Oh man!
I grew up with it. It's my favorite kind of music. So.
Well, there's a couple of guys used to be in the Kingston Trio. They had a big change of personnel. It's kind of ugly thing, but there's a new group called the Folk Legacy Trio.
Nice.
And if I write you at leo@leoville.com,
that will work. Yep. I'll come see you next time you're in the area.
Well, that would be pretty fun. Or I'll
have to go to Phoenix. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, and
I'm going to suggest a new song, by the way.
What's that?
You're gonna call it. Oh, he'll never return. Yes, he'll never return. He went on Haut. You could rewrite the whole thing.
That'll work. It'll work. Yeah. Charlie and the Isle of Haut.
Poor Charlie.
And you got me turned on to iFixit.com too. And
great site. I'm good.
I bought a bunch of the tools and stuff and changed some displays and batteries and stuff. And my wife's iPhone 7 battery is just dying. And it's almost cheaper just to take it to the Apple
store. Yeah, it's $90, and they have the parts, and they do it. And, if you do it that way, it's better because Apple lately has been doing bad things to people who change their own parts.
Really?
Yeah, they really hate the idea that you might fix anything. So I just read an issue of people replacing their battery, and then stuff stops working.
Oh, well.
I think it was on iFixit, actually. You might want to check it out. But it's just have Apple do it. It's not going to be. I mean, it's not going to be more expensive, honestly.
Yeah. Hey, are you around the office and doing stuff during the week in case I got the Miramar show coming up at the end of the month, and if I stay an extra day, I'm half tempted to want to come up your way and stop in and visit.
You would be more than welcome. I am here Tuesday and Wednesday only.
Okay.
Unless I'm doing triangulation. But, if you want to come up, just email tickets@twit.tv, and they'll tell you if I'm going to be here those days. And they also send directions to our secret location.
I missed the brick house.
I know. This is close, though. Hey, I got to run.
All right. Hey, thank you, Leo.
Nice,
very,
Rob.
very
Thank
much.
you for the very kind words. Take care.
Roger that. See you, bud.
Bye. It's time for the Car Guy, principal researcher at Navigant Research. He's the podcaster at wheelbearings.media. More importantly, he's my car guy, Sam Abuelsamid. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Leo. How are you this week?
You are sitting in front of one of my favorite classic cars, a Jaguar XKE.
It's also one of my favorites.
It's a beautiful car.
It is gorgeous. And I brought this one up this week because this, for automotive, classic car enthusiasts, this is a particularly important week of the year. Over in your part of the world, down in Monterey, it's Monterey Car Week, the Pebble Beach Concours, and the Rolex Motorsports reunion at Laguna Seca, and then back here in Detroit, it's time for the Woodward Dream Cruise, which was yesterday, which is a massive event. People bring out all their vintage and classic cars and drive up and down Woodward Avenue. They estimate about 1 million people line Woodward Avenue in north of Detroit, watching all these cars drive by all day long. And one of the interesting phenomenon that's occurred over the last 10 or 15 years in vintage cars is the concept of the resto mod.
The resto mod.
So there's traditional restorations, which is, people will take a vintage car and tear it all down and rebuild it.
Lisa did that. She had a beautiful bright red 72 Camaro, completely restored, gorgeous. Classic. Yeah.
The problem with all those vintage cars is they look great, but compared to modern cars, they actually don't drive all that well.
No, they're death traps too. They don't have auto lock brakes. They don't have airbags. Some of them don't even have seat belts.
Exactly. So over the last 10 or 15 years, we've had this movement of resto mods, which is you take a vintage car and you fix up the body and everything in the interior, but then you update it with some modern mechanical bits. So you put modern brake systems on there, modern suspension, tires, modern engines that run much more reliably.
And efficiently, we might add. That XKE sitting behind you there, my best friend in 6th grade's dad bought one. 12 cylinders, probably about 4 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And, of course, it's in the shop most of the time, in which case it gets infinite miles to the gallon.
Exactly. So, with resto mods, you can get a car that looks like a classic, and, it is. But, it drives like a modern car, much more reliable.
I'd love that. I would love an
XKE in hot weather.
Because the XKE body is just gorgeous. But,
it is.
But it's, notoriously finicky.
It is. So, the latest iteration of that now is doing resto mods, but instead of putting a modern internal combustion engine in there, doing an electric powertrain. And as we get more and more cities in various parts of the world, especially in Europe, but even here, looking at ways of restricting internal combustion engines. In Europe, there's a lot of cities that are considering banning internal combustion engines from city centers.
Wow.
And so what we're starting to see is more and more installations of electric powertrains in these vintage cars. The E-Type here was a concept that Jaguar showed last year at the Paris Motor Show. They called it the E-Type Zero, and they put the electric motor from a Jaguar I-Pace in the back, and in place of the inline 6-cylinder engine that was in the classic E-Types from the beginning, in the front they put a 40 kilowatt-hour battery pack. And then later announced that starting in 2020, they will start to build some of these. You can either bring your existing E-Type to Jaguar, and they'll upgrade it, or modify it with an electric powertrain, or you can, they will acquire one for you and do it. That's obviously more expensive. Aston Martin also announced a similar program for some of their old cars, and in that case, they will actually preserve all the old parts, so that if you ever decide you want to go back to the original engine, they can put it back the way it was if you want. But there's a bunch of companies out there now that are doing this. Companies like Z-Electric and Electric GT that are doing various conversions on a variety of different types of vehicles, from Ferraris and Porsches to Jeeps. This one company, Electric GT, will even do a classic Toyota Land Cruiser FJ40 from the 1970s.
Do you remember? I interviewed Neil Young some years ago, and he was all excited about he called it his Link Volt. He took a 1959 Lincoln Continental with suicide doors, a Mark IV convertible, put batteries and an electric engine in it, and that thing is big enough you could probably put quite a few batteries. Did he ever sell those? Because I would love that. Would be another great one.
I don't think they ever sold them. I think there was just the one that he had built for himself.
LINCV.
I don't know if there was ever an intent to sell them.
I think he did want to.
Okay.
Yeah. LINCVOLT. That he at least wanted to. But I know, what a crazy idea. I love the idea of, because I like classic cars, but I don't want to drip oil in my driveway. And
I hear you. And that's another problem with old cars like that. Dripping oil. They use a lot of gas. They have a lot of emissions. And in a place like California, especially, you want to avoid that if you can.
How much is how much? I hate to even ask, but the Jaguar retrofit, how much is that? I
don't think that they have announced pricing yet. I haven't seen any pricing announced. I think it is, it's going to be, on a case by case basis, because it's going to depend on exactly what year of E-Type you bring them and how much additional work you want to have done. My guess is, just the conversion. If you just bring them a car and ask them to do the conversion, it's probably going to be somewhere in the $50,000 to $100,000 range for the Jaguar.
Yikes!
It might be less than that.
But those batteries are expensive. I mean, that's what makes electric vehicles expensive.
But you can also do it for considerably less money. One of the things that a lot of hobbyists are doing is actually getting totaled Teslas, getting wrecked Teslas. And there's one that I found that is a Beetle, a classic Beetle.
Just took the Tesla guts and put it in a Beetle.
Yeah, put the Tesla motor in there because the motor is so small. And then it's just a matter of figuring out where to package the batteries. And especially on the Model S and the X batteries, they have smaller modules. The Model 3 battery pack just has 4 really large modules, so those are hard to package. But you can get the smaller modules from the S and the X battery pack, and you can stuff those in various places around the car, and you can make something really cool out of that.
Is the displacement of the batteries and the electric motors roughly equivalent to the displacement of a gas tank and an electric engine and all of that, or?
It's going to be if you combine the fuel tank and the motor, or the engine, the internal combustion engine, it's going to be probably on a par. The problem is, even though the volume might be similar, it's going to tend to be a lot heavier. So you have to be careful about how you package it so you don't mess up the handling too much.
Sure.
Which is one of the challenges with doing something like this is that because batteries are so heavy, if you don't have them mounted down low in the car like you do in the Bolt or Tesla, then you're going to raise the center of gravity of the car, and it's not going to drive right.
Captain J says, "Are they making electric Pintos yet?"
Well, actually, funny enough, about 10 years ago, when I was still writing for Autoblog, I was outside doing yard work one day. I was mowing the lawn, I think, and somebody pulled up into my driveway. He had seen, that I'm driving different press cars all the time, and he assumed that, because he saw all the different cars in my driveway, he assumed I was an auto writer, and he pulled up in this old Saturn, an early 90s Saturn, that he had done the conversion on himself.
Nice.
And he told me all about it, and
my
we
friend
actually
had a conversion. He'd put lead acid batteries in it, though. I mean,
yeah,
you're talking about heavy.
That's what was in this one.
Yeah. Sam Abuelsamid. Hey, you can listen to Sam's great Wheel Bearings podcast. Just go to wheelbearings.media if you love cars, and he joins us every week here on the show. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you,
Next
Leo.
week
and I'll
you're driving a Lincoln,
week.
huh? That's going to be fun. I want to hear all about that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Wow, now you made me really jealous. I can't get one of these. And it's not a big battery. It's not going to have a huge range, but it sure be fun to drive to work.
40 kilowatt hour battery. It'll probably have about 100 to 120 mile range.
Yeah.
But that's probably all this is a car you're going to take out, just to cruise around with it.
Wow, I'd love to. Oh man. Yeah, I guess this comes from when I was in 6th grade. And Joseph's dad bought the 12-cylinder, inline 12. It was
those came out later. They came out around 1970, I think.
Yeah, long hood. Whew.
Yeah. Well, I was at a Cars and Coffee event here in Detroit a few weeks ago, and on a Saturday morning, and there were 5 E-Types lined up in a row.
So beautiful. I don't think there's ever been a more beautiful car. I don't know why.
It is one of the all-time classics.
Yeah, I don't know why I love it so much, but it just, it's that long hood, I think.
Yeah.
Just a gorgeous.
It's got the classic sports car proportions.
Yeah. Oh, Sam, you made me drool again. Thanks, Sam.
All right.
Have a good one. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. Line 2. Vince, Venice Beach, California. Hello, Vince.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome to the show.
So I've got a question. Thank you. My question is, I've got good news is our company is growing, and
Yay.
we've outgrown our PBX, and so I'm looking to go to a VoIP solution. And I know in the past you have recommended Ring Central. I was just wondering if that's still your recommendation, and how much work is it really to get up and running?
Ring Central we still use. So even though they're not an advertiser anymore, we still use them. So I guess I would recommend it. So it's a VoIP solution, but you wouldn't know it's a VoIP solution. So we have on our desks regular phones. They're Polycoms, but you can choose other ones. They look just like a phone. The conference room has that Polycom, conference thing with the microphones on it. We have routing. The advantage of a VoIP solution as opposed to going to your local phone company is a lot of the features that you'd get from a big old switch are done in digital, completely digital. So, for instance, you could put a Ring Central app on your phone and make calls from your company line on your smartphone when you're not at the company. You can also answer the company line. It has a phone tree that's programmable from the web, which I really liked because I change it a lot, and I can record new recordings, set up new trees, all of that stuff. So, yeah, that's the only one I really have a deep experience with because we've been using it for maybe 8 years now since we built our first studio back in, what is it? Gosh, I don't even remember, 2012, something like that. There are many, 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 many more. So I can't say that there aren't better ones out there, but I have really been very happy with Ring Central. It was a recommendation of our IT guy. I had never heard of any of this. In fact, when we built our studio, the original brick house, I didn't even think about phones. Prior to that, we'd made our employees use their own cell phones, which is really not nice. They didn't seem to mind too much. We were a little tiny company, but when we started to build this facility, people said, well, okay, so you're giving us phones, right? And I said, I am? Oh, okay, yes, I am. And we had to really kind of scramble to figure it out. So it was very fast and easy to set up. It's all software. There's no hardware in the building. You have to have enough bandwidth to make it work, but we've never had an issue with that at all. It's always worked well with whatever bandwidth we throw at it. But that is an issue, too, if your internet goes out. You're not going to have a phone system. The good news is calls will still go through. They'll just go to voicemail, and you can pick them up after the power comes back.
After the outage.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and it's a lot cheaper too. I mean, if we're doing standard lines now, it seems that we're saving a ton of money as well as the included features that we're going to get.
Yeah, they as a lot of software companies do, they have tiers. So the cheapest is $20 a month per person, and the most expensive is $50 a month per person. It just depends on what you want. But you get video conferencing with that. You get toll-free numbers. You get local numbers, voicemail to text. We have a phone tree, and voicemail comes to me. I never answer the phone ever, but I always can get the voicemail in my email. Stuff like that is very handy, I think. Oh, and it does faxing, which is still in many businesses a thing. So I was talking.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately, in our business, that's a big thing, and that would save us tons of money because that's a POTS line back in the day used to be no big deal. Now it's like $115 a month.
What? That's cray-cray.
Yeah.
Not to mention that curly thermal paper you got to buy. And all that other stuff.
Well, we have a more modern.
Good.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's crazy to have a phone line dedicated to fax these days. It's absolutely better to do it digitally because then the faxes come in as email. They're you can handle and process them digitally. It's a lot easier. I would say without hesitation, I'd recommend RingCentral.
Okay.
But again, I don't have a lot of experience with other ones, so.
That's fine.
If people are listening and they have, experience with both SAT and something else, or you've got some comments, I'd love to hear about it. You can call us 88-ASK-LEO, 8888-ASK-LEO. Leave a comment at the website, techguylabs.com. And then just check every once in a while, Vince, to see if there's anything more to say.
We'll do.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you very much,
Take
Leo.
care. $100 a month for a POTS line. What? The dirty little secret of the phone company, they won't tell you this, is they're using internet protocol as well. So everything's IP-based at this point. You may have a physical wire. In the original phone, Alexander Graham Bell's phone was a wire from your phone to another person's phone and amplifiers along the way. And that's why, remember in the movies, number please, and then they'd have these big jacks and they'd connect the jack into the switchboard. That jack was a wire literally connecting your hole to the other person's hole so that you could have a single wire connection between you. And for years, that's how the phone system worked. Even when we got to modern switching apparatus, at one point, the phone company was getting so big, they said, we will have to employ, if we continue to grow at this rate, we will have to employ every woman in the United States as an operator. That's not going to work. So they started to go to mechanical switching, but it was still switching. It would switch one wire to another wire, connecting you via a wire. Well, obviously, that's not the most efficient way to do it. So you may have a wire leading from your phone into the wall, through the wall, to a pole outside, maybe even down that pole to the phone company, to the central office. But at that point, man, it goes digital. It slowly started in long lines, and it's spread, and it's now pretty much all digital. So using a all digital solution isn't a step down by any means. In fact, it's a step up because you can do a whole lot more with bits than you can do with analog lines. Felix, Garden Grove, California. Hi, Felix. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. It's a long-time listener, first-time caller. Really miss you on screensavers on G4 TV.
Welcome.
Those were the good old days.
Those were the good old days.
So, but my main reason I'm calling is I have a Sony 4K TV. It's the X900E. Mm-hmm. And the past 2 days, my television screen has gone black.
Uh-oh.
And prior to me finding out about that, I'm a gamer. I have my Xbox X hooked up to it. And I turned it on, got the green screen, the logo coming up.
Yeah.
And I walk out of my room, I come back, and the screen's black. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Turned it off on, did all the steps, unplug it, turn it off, leave it on.
See, you're right, because these modern TVs are computers. So you're doing the same thing you do with a computer. You're rebooted.
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, it's been about 2 days, but it's not completely 100% black. There's everything about the TV technically still works, like the audio, for example.
Yeah.
But when I hit like input, action menu, home, I get like a light in the background, but it's just like foggy.
Can you see a picture, just a very dim picture? If you get up close to the screen, can you see a picture at all?
No, I tried doing that with a flashlight.
Yeah, because sometimes it's if the backlight dies, that's what's shining through the LCD crystals. They're just shutters. Right. The light is what's shining through, and if that died, you'd still get an image. The crystals would still be working, but you wouldn't be a lit image. It would just kind of be a weird dim image.
Yeah, that's sort of how it kind of looks. So like I'll hit input, and on the left-hand side of the screen, it kind of gets like a white fuzzy image. So I know that the input's there. It's just all it's black. So I pretty much, I'm sort of at a dead end. I was hoping, I can.
There's no easy fixes on any of these TVs. I'm sorry to say, you have to bring them to Sony. They probably replace big chunks of things like motherboards and backlight panels. They're not easily fixed. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, it's out of warranty now.
Not even 2 years. I checked. I have my receipt. I did buy it at Best Buy.
I would call them. Best Buy's pretty good at.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay,
their reputation's more important than Sony. so I would call them and see what they say. They have a pretty good tech department too. So that's good. That in a way, that's good you bought it at Best Buy. If you'd bought it online, you'd be really kind of in trouble.
Yeah, it's a really nice TV. It's got really great black, so I would really.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Really bummed out.
And 2 years is, it should last longer than that. The problem is, it's hard for me to tell from what you describe exactly what's going on. Could be the backlight, but if you're not getting a picture all the way across, that's a little bit more serious. These are computers. There's a motherboard. It's connected to a display. The connection could be bad. Usually, though, it sounds like a complete failure. That usually means a bad component of some kind. That's
kind of one thing. The one at first I was thinking it was the power supply because it comes with a big brick, which is kind of the one negative about the TV.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that could be the option.
Yeah, totally could be. I presume you've pulled the power cord and let it sit for a while because that's the only way you can really reset these things.
Yeah, I unplugged it over last night. I left it unplugged.
Good.
And then I turned it on and then same thing. So
I call Best Buy. These are good quality TVs. Sony probably can replace modules. One hopes.
Okay, I'm hoping. This is like I paid like $1,000 for this at the time.
Yeah.
So I want my money's worth. But okay, all right. I feel you're the best person to call in my opinion. So
well, the next best person is the person you bought it from.
Yeah,
that's true. Go see what they'll do for you. I'm sorry I can't be of more help.
No, that's okay. Also, thank you, Leo. Have a good one. My
pleasure. I'm glad you called. Now that you know the way, come back again.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, hi. How are you? Good to see you. Welcome. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. We're going to talk about tech for the next couple of hours. Tech of all kinds. Computers, the internet, home theater, big screen TVs, surround sound. We talk about cars. They're becoming rolling home theaters, rolling computers. We talk about smartphones, of course, smart watches. 8888 Ask Leo is a number if you want to call in and ask a question or make a comment or make a suggestion. Help us out. 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I want to mention again, update your Windows. Update your Windows. There's a bad Windows bug going around again. Man, I swear. That's always the rule, right? Update your operating systems on a regular basis. Microsoft has a regular Windows update on the second Tuesday of every month. Don't put it off. Get it, imply it, because what happens as soon as they put out the updates is the bad guys go, and they rub their hands and they say, Of course, we had the big bad guy conference. Actually, it's not the bad guy. It's a hacker conference. Black Hat is one of them, and then the other's DEF CON in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and there were a lot of things came out there that people will be working on trying to fix. So just, it's a good idea. Update all the time. And by the way, somebody in the chat room saying, get a Mac, you'll never update. Oh, yeah, you will. First of all, Apple absolutely does updates. They just don't do it on a monthly schedule. And what many people don't know is Apple, in the background, is updating frequently, but you don't even know they're doing it. Remember last month, Zoom, the conferencing service, it was discovered that Zoom, even if you uninstalled it, has anybody ever invited you to a Zoom conference? It's very easy. You click a link, and suddenly you're doing a video call. Well, it turns out the reason that worked, even if you, after that, uninstall Zoom, is it installs a little web server on your computer that's running all the time, waiting for you to click that link and open it up. And then it'll go, oh, you need to download this. I bet you other conferencing programs do that. But Zoom got dinged for it. Apple was, whoa, that's got nice. Because it, you got a server running. There's all sorts of other things bad guys could do, not Zoom. So Apple pushed out a patch, a fix, but they didn't. You wouldn't have known. It all happened behind the scenes. You weren't asked to do anything. Apple just sent it out and fixed it. In fact, they sent out 2 because the first one worked for Zoom but didn't work for partners who use the Zoom technology, white labeled, including, by the way, the company that we were talking about earlier, Ring Central. I think they use Zoom for their conferencing. So they had to go and patch them too. So, yeah, in fact, a way I like that and a way I don't like it and a way I think you should always be known, it should be told, you should have a choice if your system is being modified. But I think Apple just assumes, well, our users are not geeks. They're normal people. They don't want to be bothered. We'll just take care of it for them. And for the most part, that works, except when it doesn't. 8888 asks Leo. I got the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. I ordered it. I didn't get it yet. I'll be getting it Thursday. Next week, we'll have a little first look review of it. I'm very excited. It does some things that even the S10 Plus, it's the most recent Samsung phone, doesn't do yet. I say yet because most of this is software stuff that it could do. They just, they have to hold some stuff back so you'll get you'll get a Note 10. I don't ever use the stylus. Do you use a stylus? I'm not an artist. But they're talking about how you can this has been the holy grail for 30 years now. You can handwrite notes on the Note 10 and then it will turn it into text like that you could, cut and paste and send. Remember the Newton? That was supposed to do that too. Remember the Newton? But you'd write stuff and it would say, and it would get it all wrong. Well, the Note 10 will do that. It'd be interesting to see. The Newton was what, 1995? 94? Something like that? Be interesting to see here, 25 years later, if they can get it right. Because if they can't, then it makes you wonder about other things that have been promised forever, like self-driving vehicles. There's an increasing drumbeat of technology experts who say, yeah, it's not going to be here soon. It might be, we might look back in the year 2045 when we finally get something that can drive itself and say, wow, that took a long time. I think that could easily happen. That's how it is with technology. Somebody once said, the next big thing is both sooner than you expect and farther than you want, or something like that. They sneak up on you. Or sometimes they take a really long time to sneak up on you. Back to the phones we go at 8888 Ask Leo. Line 4, Marcus in, I don't know how to say this. Marcus, is it Wenatchee?
Wenatchee. It's an Indian name.
Wenatchee, Washington. Well, nice to talk to you.
Indeed it is. You too. So, I know my way around the hardware of a computer really well, but I just realized that a while ago that I don't know any software. So I'd like to start becoming a little bit more software savvy. I'd like to start coding.
Oh, good.
I was wondering if you could recommend a language and maybe some resources to help me get started with that language.
So the default answer to this, which is, I'm going to give you the default answer. It's not actually my answer, but I'm going to give you the default answer, and it's not a bad answer, is you should go to something like, there are many of these, Code Academy at code.org, and learn Python. That's the short answer that probably is what almost everybody is doing. I'm going to give you now what I would say is actually the better answer, but remember, I'm a cranky old man. So the hip kids are going to say, oh, learn Python or maybe JavaScript. JavaScript might even be more useful. It's harder to learn. And if you learn, by the way, the first language is the hardest. After you learn one language, it's easier because the concepts of any computer language are fairly similar. If you wanted to write apps for the iPhone, you might be better off learning something like Swift. But that's only for the iPhone, pretty much. If you wanted to write apps for Android, Java, not JavaScript, they're two different languages despite the similarity in names, Java, or its more modern version, Kotlin, Kotlin, would be better if you wanted to learn how to write for the phone. But I would suggest, my cranky old man interpretation is, it's a mistake to say, I want to program a computer. That will come in time, but really, teaching somebody how to program a computer is missing the boat. What you really need to do is teach somebody how to think about a problem and how to solve a problem. You want to have a language that will help you understand how to think about problems and how to solve problems. And then you can apply, that's at a higher level, that kind of problem solving to any language. The language is easy. You can learn most languages in a day or two. The language is not hard. What's hard, and you'll spend a lot of time learning kind of the ins and outs of the language, how to edit it, how to set it up, how to install it. All this stuff is not really teaching you the fundamental skill you need, which is problem solving. How to think. Computer scientists use the word algorithms to describe the steps you use to solve a computer problem. Thinking algorithmically is what you want to learn. So now I'm going to give you this is really ridiculous, and people yell at me every time I say this, but there's a free book out there called How to Design Programs. It teaches you how to think algorithmically. And it's free. You can get it for free. It was used for years to teach new freshmen how to program at Rice and other universities. That it goes with a language called Racket. And you can download Racket from racketlang.org, Dr. Racket. And the nice thing about that, you install it. It works on Linux, Mac, Windows. You install it. You don't have to spend a lot of time figuring out the tooling, figuring out how to do programs or anything like that. It's very straightforward. It's everything you need an editor, what we call a REPL, which makes it easy to write and try different statements. And then with How to Design Programs and Dr. Racket, it'll take you about 6 months. Took me about 3 years, but it'll take you about 6 months to go through it. Learn it, and then go to code.org. You will be so far ahead because you'll know how to design programs, how to think algorithmically, how to solve problems. And even if you never write code professionally, it will have taught you a skill that is valuable in every discipline, how to think logically. So that's how I prefer you do it. So there's your choices. pythoncode.org. Easy peasy, 6 weeks. You can get it. You can probably get a job even because there's such a demand for programmers. Or do it right. Start with How to Design Programs, htdp.org. That's the book, and they'll explain how to get Dr. Racket. And you install Dr. Racket. By the time you get through that, you will be a better programmer than 90% of the people working as a programmer. Okay?
Okay, fantastic. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I've got time on my hands, so I'll go with
this. It's a great thing to do. There, I took a course. If you, it depends how you like to learn. Some people can learn from a book, but I took a course that was free at edx.org. There's two stages to it. It's from the University of British Columbia. The professor Gregor Kozales is a legend in this field, and his How to Code series. There's two simple data and complex data, how to code, is free online, and you can get a grade. You can even get a certificate if you pay for it. And that's the same thing. It's HTTP, Dr. Racket, but it's a professor with video lectures and tests. So if you like to work that way, kind of like you're going back to school, that's another way to do it. edx.org for that one. We'll put this all in the show notes because I know I went fast and it's hard to write all that down, but we'll put links at techguylabs.com. This is my favorite way to learn. And then after that, well, I'll wait till you get through that. And after that, there's structure and interpretation of computer programming. There's scheme. If you learn how to think, that's so much, how to think about problems and solve them. That's so much more important than how to write a Python statement. That doesn't do anything. First, learn how to think about the problem, and then you can start coding. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, our photo guy, Chris Marquardt, coming up in just a little bit. Let's take a little tiny time out and get back with more of your calls right after this. Hey, I got to mention our podcast sponsor today. Love these guys. Simply Safe. What a great story. The Simply Safe story. Go to read up on Simply Safe because I think you'll be very impressed. It was started in Boston by two Harvard Business School students, Chad and Eleanor Lawrence. They're a couple. In 2006, after several friends in the Cambridge area experienced break-ins, but couldn't find, and I think this is a great story, a security company designed to help renters. Lawrence had majored in electrical engineering at Yale, graduated in 2000, then was at Harvard Business School, and he said, wait a minute. What if we did a simple system you could install yourself, inexpensive, no contracts, no hidden fees, with 24-hour monitoring starting at $15 a month? He launched the company in 2009. Now, today, they are easily the number one security company in America because they make a great product. And it's not just for renters. Renters love it because you don't have to have an installer come in and drill holes in the wall. Landlord doesn't like that. You just peel and stick. You do it yourself. But I use it too. I mean, it's really easy. They've got motion sensors, so you can put those in the hallways. Look for people walking down your halls. They've got window and door opening sensors. They even got water sensors. So if you put it by the hot water heater in case you get a leak. They have carbon monoxide sensors. They have cameras. They have everything you need. The base station is attractive, simple, and unbreakable. A bad guy could take a bat to it. The bad guy could disconnect it, throw it out the window, and it'll still call for help. And help comes faster with SimpliSafe. This is another thing they pioneered that I think is brilliant. On average, not with SimpliSafe, but with the other guys, police will take 45 minutes to respond to a security alarm for a simple reason. Police don't trust the home security alarms. They just assume it's probably a false alarm. And they move the call to the bottom of the list. But this is what SimpliSafe Home Security does. They use video verification to confirm a break-in is happening, to tell the police that, and as a result, police get on the scene with SimpliSafe 3.5 times faster. Average response time, not 45 minutes, but 7 minutes. This is where smart engineering and thinking really makes a difference. I just love the SimpliSafe story, and I love the SimpliSafe product. You will too. Ton of awards. CNET, the Wirecutter, all agree SimpliSafe is the best. The prices are always fair and honest. And with around-the-clock monitoring starting at $15 a month, that's 1/3 what the other guys charge. And no big installer traipsing through your house, scoping out your stuff with a drill. We have a great deal for you right now. When you go to simplisafe.com/twit, you'll get free shipping and a money-back guarantee. So whether you're a renter or a homeowner, just remember, the bad guys, when they're casing the neighborhood and they see that SimpliSafe sign in your yard, they go to the next guy. They don't even bother. It's like, okay, got it, moving on. But if you don't have that sign, you're the one they're moving on to. Simplisafe.com/twit, free shipping, and of course, a money-back guarantee. If you're not happy, no problem. They'll refund your money gladly. Simplisafe.com/twit. It's home security done right. SimpliSafe. And I really appreciate you, SimpliSafe, for sponsoring the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. I put a link to an article on computer science. Really, there's so much more to coding than just learning a language. In fact, that's the easiest part of it, which is why so many code academies are around teaching people, to code, because that's easy and you get, an immediate bump and all that. But I really think people ought to be learning computer science, which is a deeper understanding of everything. And I think it will inform everything you do from that point on. I found an article, let's see if I can find it and put a link in our show notes, that kind of describes what you should learn to be a computer scientist. What you would learn if you went to a 4-year school, a good school like Stanford or Harvard or MIT, and you took, a computer science major, the stuff you would learn there. And that seems to me that's the stuff that would be so useful if you really want to be a good coder, if you want to do it for a living, or even have it be more satisfying as a hobby, which is all I do it for. For me, it's just a hobby. It's just fun. It's kind of like solving chess problems. It's just fun. Actually, there's a lot in common with chess and computers, computer programming. You can learn the game of chess in a day, in a night, in an afternoon. It would take a lifetime to master. And programming is pretty much that. Pretty much that. So this blog post that I'll find divides it up into a variety of things. I mean, you got to learn networking too, right? You got to learn operating systems. You got to learn the hardware as well as the software. You have to learn algorithms, because those are the well-known ways for doing things like sorting files. You got to learn those. You got to learn program design. He has, I think, 6 or 7 categories. It says you'll need to spend about 100 hours on each. They're talking somewhere around 1,000 hours to kind of get all this under your belt. That's a lot of time. But this is not, I guess it's really a question of, do you want to just be somebody can kind of hack a line or two together? That's probably what most people want. It's the easiest thing to do. Or do you really want to deeply understand it? And I'm all for deeply understanding it. I like that idea. Dave in Burbank, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Leo. So I had 2 things. One is a question that will come up as soon as I relay to you this story.
Okay.
About my experience with updating to Windows 10 on my laptop. And I ran into what I would call a bear trap that I haven't heard anybody talk about.
Okay.
So here's what happened in a nutshell. I grabbed a new SSD and a battery from my laptop. I popped out the old, put in the new, no problem, buttoned it back up.
Good.
And I downloaded from Microsoft, as I've heard you talk about so many times, the Media Creator tool and put it on a USB drive. I didn't do anything about formatting the disk. So I'm talking, it had Windows 7 Pro, but I took that SSD out, and now it's a blank SSD in there. So, and I wanted to see if I was going to get away with this without having to pay for the software. So I just went for it, And it started out really well. It ran through the setup. I changed the boot order to the USB port. It found it. It started doing the installation. And then all of a sudden this message came up, and then I knew I was screwed. And this is all over the internet, by the way, which I found out after the fact. And the message says, no device drivers were found. Make sure the installation media contains the correct drivers, and then click OK. So you can imagine what my confusion might have been when I read that message. I didn't know what to do. And I went out to the internet, and there's lots of people.
Let me just cut short here, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to put Windows on this blank disk in your new blank disk? Is that what you're trying to do?
That's what I did, and I did it. And the only reason I'm telling you the story is because I somehow fumbled my way through this thing.
Well, and it's very simple. For future reference, anybody listening, don't do that. Go to Microsoft.com. They have a page called the Media Creation Tool. Yeah. Download the version of Windows you want. Put it on a USB thumb drive. It takes a 8-gig thumb drive. Change the boot order on your system so that it'll boot from the USB device. Now you're booting from a Windows installer, which has all the drivers.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Now you install Windows and you're done. That's really pretty much the way to do it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Coming up, let's talk photography, digital photography, with Chris Marquardt. So that's what you did, but what happened after that?
I got that message popped up, and I didn't know what to do.
No,
so
I don't understand why you got that message. So you're saying you booted up with a clean install, with an installer in the USB drive. It booted up. The installer booted up, right?
Right.
You did see the Windows installer running, right?
Yeah, that's right, and I ran it about 3 times because it did a small partition for the system first. Then it went back in, and the rest of the drive was available for Windows or whatever it is available for. But I ended up pulling the key out. I was so frustrated. And then all of a sudden, it finished the installation.
Now, wait a minute. Now, did you have that USB drive plugged in while you were doing all of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what it was looking for is a driver for that external drive. You don't want that USB drive plugged in. Unplug everything but the keyboard and the mouse. And then run the installer. Okay. And so it was looking for a driver that it didn't have to an external disk. That would be my guess. But frankly...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But
right.
frankly, so the best thing to do is unplug everything except keyboard and mouse and monitor, obviously. Install Windows. At that point, you could plug in the USB drive. Once Windows is running, remember that little thing it does, boop, boop, installing driver, boop, boop. That's what it's doing, but it has to be running. Windows has to be running before it can do that. So I think the reason you're getting that message is Windows wants to look at all the disks available before it decides where to install. It's trying to load all the disks. It was trying to load that external disk, but it says, I can't read it. It's a USB drive. Just unplug it. Just unplug it.
So I've got, and here's the question. I bought a little external case for my old SSD drive. It's got Windows 7 Pro on it. Can I run this if I want to get files off it? I have the kit and everything's ready to go, but do I plug it into my USB port on the laptop? And do I boot to this SSD external?
No. Once you've got Windows, I see, because you want to run Windows 7.
Yeah, or that I've got files.
So as long as you made a USB, so you took out the original drive, which was a booting drive with Windows. I get it. With Windows 7, it's in an external thing. Yeah, you should be able to boot to it.
How do you do it? Change the boot order again?
Yep.
And then it'll bring up Windows 7 like I never did it?
I think so.
Oh.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Try it.
So I'm not going to blow. Yeah, I'm going to try it.
It won't break anything. It won't break anything.
Okay.
But yeah, it should. The only reason it wouldn't is if, because of the USB, it doesn't see the master boot record or something like that. It would absolutely work if it were connected via SATA, it were internal to the thing. But it should work with USB because, you should be able to boot to USB.
Just might be slow on USB 3.
It's going to be a little slower, yeah.
All right.
It won't be unusable.
Thank you so much. I'll give
My
it a
pleasure.
try.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There was actually a bug in Windows 10 in was it 1809 or was it 1903? I think it was 1903's early betas, that if you had a USB drive plugged in, it would fail. And I think that's really what's going on. They did fix it mostly. But it's always hard, if you think about it. It's always hard to for any operating system to handle a disk that isn't guaranteed to be there. No, that's the thing, PC Guy 8088. He had this Windows 7.1 external plugged in. So he's just unplugged that. That's kind of a general advice if you have problems. USB is pretty funky. Mama, don't take my coat across. That music means one thing. It must be time to say hello to Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. Chris is a brilliant photographer who leads wonderful photo workshops all over the world. You can find those at discoverthetopfloor.com. He hosts a number of podcasts, including, I think, what must now be the oldest photography podcast of them all, Tips from the Top Floor. And in fact, that's where I met Chris for the first time, is at a very early podcast expo, way back when podcasting was young. Hello, Chris. I mentioned
so long ago.
I mentioned that because I just came back from the podcast movement, which is the current incarnation of the podcasting expo.
Very cool, yeah.
And it was so much fun. There were 6,000 people there. Podcasting is huge suddenly. Everybody
alive
knows
and kicking. Yep.
What's really interesting to me is all the big name brands that have discovered podcasting. You and I, when we started, the whole point was we were just little guys. Anybody could do it. And we thought, well, we have something to say. And we've both done very well with it. But now here comes all the big companies, NPR. And
everyone wants their piece of the cake.
As soon as there's money in it, everything changes. Happened to blogging. Happens to everything. But that's okay. That's okay. It was just really fun to. And I have to say, I went in the door there and I was thinking, boy, I'm the old guy here. Nobody even knows who I am. But several times in various webinars, I was acknowledged as the guy who started it all, or I was the first to do a host read ad on a podcast. And so it was kind of fun. They said, this guy, you don't know who he is, this old guy in the back, he started this all.
and you built up the entire tweet network.
Yeah, we have a pretty good network going here of, 15 or 16 podcasts. We've been doing it for 15 years, since 2004. Are you're doing, I love this future of photography podcast.
The future photography? Yeah, this is the latest thing. We've just added two new co-hosts. So we have 4 people on that now, and we take turns and in different combinations talk about different things.
And
it is
TFTF, tips from
TFTF,
the top
tips
floor.
from the top floor.
Still going after all
still
these
going.
years.
14 years now, yep.
Amazing. You're at episode 800, what, 17, something like that?
Something along those lines,
That's amazing. No, 874.
Oh, wait, yeah, you're right.
Holy cow.
I stopped counting.
Yeah, I know. So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, actually, it kind of slots into what you talked about earlier in terms of programming. Like, how do you learn this thing? And there are so many things in photography that make it so simple these days. And a lot of things add convenience to your photography, to the entire workflow. There's a lot of instant gratifications. If you look at the whole digital photography, I mean, just the bare fact that you, and us old people, we know that, just the bare fact that you can take a photo and look at it right on the display there.
Mind-boggling.
Instant review. I mean, that sped up learning so much that people have really become a lot more productive in photography. I mean, this is just common knowledge. Most people today haven't even shot a roll of film.
In the old days, you would buy film, you would take a picture, and depending on whether you did it yourself, you'd have to wait at least a day to see what the picture looked like. And if you sent it into, photo processing lab, it could take weeks before you'd see the image.
Right. Now we have instant sharing that results in instant favs, right? We give a little dose of dopamine when you share something straight from the camera onto your social media. The artificial intelligence is starting to become a part of it with instant sorting of your photos. That's already being done for you on the platforms.
So cool what
instant
Google Photos
classification, instant post-production. I mean, there's automatic beautification of your photos. There's automatic selection. If you're in the Apple ecosystem, it will pick the best photos of certain times in the past and create moments for you and memories for you. So that whole thing there's so much being done for you that my question now is, what is this good for you, or this is not good for you? And I think it mainly has to do with what is your goal with photography. This is analog to what we were talking about. You can go to codeacademy.org, learn how to program in a couple of weeks, maybe even get a job, but have you really learned how to program? That is the question. I mean, again, what's the goal with photography? Is it just to create memories? Is it to capture things so you can go back to them later? I
have to say, a little learning in photography goes a long way. I mean, people, when they're first doing snapshots, they're cutting the heads off of people, or they're getting too far back. There's some basic mistakes you can fix right away. They're taking pictures into the sun.
So I would argue, if your goal is to become a better photographer, if that is your primary goal, then I would say all those automated systems, all that AI that will take a lot of work off your hands is maybe not as much of a good idea, because it's like with everything. If you want to become better at something, you have to engage with it. You have to make it part of your life. And anyone who's serious about this, I'm not talking about someone taking snapshots, totally fine to use all these, but it really extends beyond the act of just taking the photo. Photography is way more than just pressing the shutter button.
Yeah, it's adding an Instagram filter. That's all it takes.
That could be part of it. I mean, instead, photography is spans an entire workflow. I mean, it's the taking of the photo, it's the sorting of the photo, it's the rating, the tagging. It's pretty much about surrounding yourself with your photos, spending time with them, because that's how you learn, engaging in the process. If you want to become a better photographer, if that's your goal, then pretty much at anything, by the way, you have to engage with the process.
It's a lifelong learning thing, I think. I mean, I have so much to learn still.
Oh, everyone, I think, has. Yeah. And there's so many things. I mean, the programming is one thing. If you're a trumpet player, you better practice the trumpet, right?
Because when you're learning a language, and your native language is German, you speak English better than I do, so I know you had to learn it. When you're learning an instrument, in both cases, initially can be very frustrating.
Oh yeah, but you have to.
You're terrible
you have
at
to
first.
plow through. You will be terrible, and the big problem is that you know that you're terrible in the beginning.
The worst. Same thing with radio.
You know,
You're so bad for the first 10 years, or for me, 20.
I think Ira Glass said it really well in the beginning. You have good taste. You know what is good, but you can't do it because you're not good enough. But you have to plow through it. You have to put some of the work in. And you have to engage with the whole thing. And then you become a better trumpet player, a better programmer, or a better photographer. And at one point, it becomes a really good progress curve. It just takes off. But you have to just put some effort in and engage with the process. Don't let things be done for you, because that is not going to further your photography.
So that's interesting. I think
there you have it.
I think you want to get to that point where you have that breakthrough. Know that it's going to be painful. And then the breakthrough kind of rewards you a little bit.
But you can chip away at it like a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
It's not painful all the time. It's just painful at little parts of it, you know?
Yeah. Hey, I want to invite everybody. One way to get good at it is to take pictures. In fact, it's the only way to get good at it. And we have a little photo challenge designed to get you out in the field taking photos. And you don't have to, by the way, you do not have to have a fancy camera. In fact, increasingly, I'm thinking those camera phones are so good. It's all anybody needs to take a great image. Get out there. We'll give you a subject every month and take pictures illustrating the subject. The way to get our attention and to make it like a complete process is to take that picture and submit it to our tech guy group at flickr.com. This month's challenge is what? Door?
Door. We still have to D as in door.
So take a picture illustrating the word or concept door, tag it with TG door so we know it's for the tech guy, and then submit it to the tech guy group. And you think next week we'll have a review or the week after?
Probably week
Pretty
after.
soon. Give me 2 more weeks. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, wait a minute. We've moved to electric. Damn it. I'll correct that.
What?
Renee says it's electric.
What? Hold on.
Door is the old one. Door is the old one. Current Simon is electric.
That was, yeah.
Oh, it's all right. I'll fix it.
This is when you move stuff around and you get to the wrong line.
I apologize. I apologize. We're doing it the alphabet. So door was last month. D.
Entirely my mistake. No, I switched from a spreadsheet to a different workflow kind of outliner.
Thank goodness Renee keeps track.
Copy paste error.
I will
Sorry,
fix
Renee.
That. I'll fix it. Don't worry. Easy to fix. I like the new Flickr too. I'm very happy that they saved it. Now Tumblr is going to be saved by WordPress.
Oh yeah,
that's
Automatic
awesome.
is doing.
Yeah,
is taking over.
I immediately, because I had killed my Tumblr account, I immediately signed back up.
And it doesn't sound like they wanna completely destroy it. It sounds like they want to make it.
No,
they want to make money with just paying for service.
It fits into their overall WordPress model. It's just a very easy to use version of WordPress, and I think it would actually naturally flow people into WordPress. So I really like that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. 888-827-5536. Another hour to go on the Tech Guy Show, so please feel free. Call in. Ask your question. Pittsburgh, PA, Myron. Hello, Myron.
Hello, Leo. How are you today?
I couldn't be better. How are you?
Great. It's a pleasure to talk with you. Hey, I'm a cranky young man just like you. And to prove that, how young I am, my first computer was a Texas Instruments 99A, and my brother had a Commodore 64, and he'd type in this long command, and the screen would change color. I've been hooked ever since.
Remember that? Yeah.
I mean, I was amazed.
You did a little poke in a register, and the screen color would change. And then you type screen color +1, go to 10, poke screen color, and it would shimmer different colors. So, that's how it hooks you. That's how it hooks you.
Any of that. I let him do it.
I'll never forget. That's when I knew I was an old man. Walking down the street, there was a box with a Texas TI 99A in it. It said, free. Take it.
Oh, Oh, my. I still have mine if you're interested.
No, I didn't take that one either. Times have changed. Times have changed. Yeah.
Well, here's my question. When you're talking to Sam, the car guy, it made me think. I have one of those 2013 year Honda CRZs. That's the ones they don't make anymore. They either love the looks of them or you hate them.
I love how they look. No, I think they're really cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're about the only one I've come across. But anyway, it's a hybrid, of course, so it has the battery assist, but it's mainly the gas engine.
That's right.
My question is, should I be thinking of unloading this car? Because is that battery, do they last too long with all that charging, discharging? It's an ion battery, right?
Yeah. So once they move to lithium ion, and by the way, there are some new technologies coming along. There's a rumor that Samsung's next phone will have, instead of a lithium ion battery, a graphene battery. That's a new material. It's very interesting. But the good news is, first of all, it's kind of unknown because all of these plug-in hybrids, and electric cars are all new, relatively speaking. Yeah. So we don't know. Tesla has said that they believe their battery packs will last at least 10 years.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. The key on all of this is, just as it is with your laptop and your phone, managing heat. If the battery is too cool or worse, too hot, it will diminish its long-term life.
Okay.
And the other thing that most electric vehicles do is they recommend you don't charge all the batteries all the time. Now, I'm sure that that's exactly how your hybrid works.
Yes.
So
yes, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So I think you're probably okay on this, although admittedly the CRZ was an early hybrid. So it's hard to tell, how sophisticated Honda was about all this. They've gotten better and better. I wouldn't worry about it.
How about like the safety in a car like that? It's a pretty small car and you got a big battery in there, and in a crash or something, do you think there's more precautions that maybe someone would take if, I needed help on the road?
All right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a physicist. But the issue with a small car is, though there are a couple, of course, you have to have crumple zones. You have to have protected areas where you're seated, so you have beams in the sides and stuff like that. And it's nice to have airbags all around. But mass is an interesting thing. One of the reasons small cars have problems in accidents is because their mass is so much smaller than an SUV or a truck. The truck always wins. So having more mass is actually, I think, a good thing.
Okay.
Being a heavier vehicle will help you in a collision with another vehicle. Instead of squishing, you might be able to resist it a little bit better. But honestly, the most important thing, it's possible to make a small vehicle safe if it has the proper kinds of crumple zones, reinforcements. But this is a great question. Let me ask Sam next time he's on about that.
Great.
I think that's a great question.
Yeah, like I said, safety with that big battery behind my seat. It just makes me wonder.
Well, that's true. You don't want the battery going through you to the front, so that is a good point.
Or even the acid or whatever's in it.
Well, there's no. This is something people sometimes talk about with Teslas too. Is when lithium-ion batteries are punctured, they can explode. They certainly can burst into flames and may even explode. But let's not forget, a gas tank doesn't handle punctures too well either.
Boy, you're absolutely right.
You're
right.
Anything that gives you enough energy to drive a 1-ton hunk of metal down the road at 60 miles an hour, all that energy has to be stored in a small space. It means if the energy can escape rapidly, that's called an explosion. That's all an explosion is a rapid escape of energy. So that's why gas, which has a very high energy quotient, it could store a ton of energy in that small space. When it explodes, man, it explodes. Same with lithium-ion batteries. I don't think there ever will be a way of moving a vehicle that doesn't have that potential, because you've got to stop. I mean, fuel cells have hydrogen in there. What was what? Let me think about hydrogen. What was? The Hindenburg disaster. Yes.
That makes
hydrogen. Yeah. What was?
Thank you.
Yeah. So anything that's going to move a vehicle at any speed is going to be a little bit of a safety hazard. But I think it is completely possible to protect those lithium-ion batteries. Honda's a good company. They have the CRZ. Look at the crash ratings. That's important. And I wouldn't buy a vehicle these days that I didn't first look at the Highway Transportation Safety Board's crash ratings and see, how well it does in a crash. I always want to have now side airbags as well as front airbags. I've seen lives saved by airbags many, many times. And of course, anti-lock brake systems. Cars, if you think about it, including your CRZ, are so much safer now. This is why when I was talking last with Sam about these retrofits, those old vehicles were death traps. They didn't have crumple zones. That long steel hood on a Jaguar XKE, that didn't crumple. It slid right through the cabin.
Yeah.
So honestly, modern cars, that's why, I think we are safer in our cars than we used to be.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I really appreciate you taking my call. And if you're really that cranky, then I don't know what I am.
I'm a cranky old geek. Well, when I talk to the youngs, sometimes, I often recommend things that take more work. That's what I remember my grandpa used to say, there's no substitute for hard work. He used to say, hard, easy, easy, hard. Do the hard stuff first, and then it'll be easy later instead of doing the easy stuff first. Things like that. And so I guess I'm turning into my grandpa.
Well, yeah, me too. You're not alone.
It's normal. It's normal. Hey, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for calling.
Pleasure talking to you.
Enjoy your CRV. I think those CRZs are really cool. I do have to say that early hybrids and electric vehicles, for some reason, these companies thought they had to design them funny. Like, you had to look at it, it had to look space age. Now, some of that, of course, is aerodynamics, and the CRZ is a very aerodynamic car. But I think some of it was just marketing. Like, wow, it has to look like the future. Remember the Nissan Leaf, the early Leafs? They looked like aliens. Fortunately, that's changing. And we're now seeing electric vehicles that look normal. like everyday automobiles. I kind of like that. I never wanted to drive that strange-looking thing. 8888 Ask Leo. The website is techguylabs.com. I put a link on how to become a computer scientist up there. And we will get back to the phones right after this. There are no strange questions, Alexander, just strange people. Okay. What? Yes.
So for the record, this was not me.
Okay.
About 50 episodes in.
Yeah. I got to tell people, wait a minute. Alexander started listening to the Tech Guy podcast a few years ago and refuses to skip. So he is a couple hundred podcasts behind. But he keeps listening in order. So he's now up to Christmas 2016. Is that what you said? Someday you'll join us in the present. What are you going to do when you get to this show? You've heard the whole show. It's going to be weird. You'll say, I remember that 2 years from now. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, programming computers, taking computers apart, putting them back together again, smartphones, smartwatches. Yeah, there's still smartwatches. Actually, I think the Apple Watch won, right? Can we say that now? I do see a lot of Fitbits, a lot of them, because they're less expensive and they do pretty much everything people want. Tell the time. That's a good start. Apple Watch doesn't really even do a very good job of telling the time. You have to flip your wrist up to get the time of day. Steps. Apple Watch does a little more heart rate, and I can get notifications and stuff. I don't know. I wear an Apple Watch. I think the new Android Wear is pretty good. There's some good. Fossil just came out with a new Android Wear version. So did Misfit. I don't know. We could talk about watches. Sure, why not? We don't talk about GPS nav units much either anymore. We talk about backup cameras, though. So 8888 Ask Leo. Times change. So does this show, mostly. 888-827-5536. The website where we'll put everything I talk about and links and more and give you a chance to comment is free, always available, 24/7 at techguylabs.com. No sign up, techguylabs.com. And kind of use that as a resource because there's now 1,618 shows there. So you can go back, listen to the old shows, read the old comments. Later today, there'll be 1,619. Line 3, Jeff in Manhattan. My birthplace. Hello, Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Me okay?
Yeah, you're on, man. Welcome.
All right, good. So, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Do they make something? I found a company that takes old radios, because we had a couple of nostalgic ones from my grandfather, and they put Bluetooth in them, and it's a place here in Manhattan.
Oh, that's cool.
Beautiful radio.
So they're these beautiful old cabinet radios like people used to listen to in the 40s, but they have Bluetooth in them so that you can use them as a Bluetooth speaker, basically.
Correct. So he actually took one that I had looked like a Panasonic meter. It looked like a TNT plunger. It worked on 8-track. And the way to turn it on is you just plug an 8-track tape into it, and that's how you turn it on. So he converted it to Bluetooth, the LED lights and everything. So
nice.
Really cool. Yeah, so my question is, we're having a party, and I wanted, the guy's name is Nick. He's awesome, by the way. Little plug there.
Does he sell these online? Because I would love one.
Yeah. Well, the website, if you have a sec, I don't need to give a plug like that.
No. This is, I don't mind people plugging something that's useful to our audience. That's great.
Okay, it's wavelengthantiques.com.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes so people can get that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so in other words, we wanted to show it off a little bit because we have a couple of them. And is there such thing as a Bluetooth extender?
There sure is.
There is. Okay.
There is, yeah. Generally, when people do this, they will use Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi will get out to the pool. Bluetooth is designed to be short range, 10 meters, 30 feet, for security reasons, if nothing else. You don't want. The other day, I was bicycling through a neighborhood and I have a Bluetooth helmet, trying to pair my Bluetooth helmet to my phone. So I had the phone scanning for Bluetooth. Okay, don't do this while you ride your bike. But I'm bicycling around, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing speaker system after speaker system pop up. Not just speakers, refrigerators, cars, all home alarms, even Echoes, Amazon Echoes popping up. I could have picked any one of them and started playing music on somebody's house. So even a 30 feet range may be too much for some Bluetooth. So just be aware of that. Generally, what I recommend people do is turn off pairing. But a lot of these new devices use Bluetooth LE and don't turn it off. They are always broadcasting. However, you can extend Bluetooth if you Google Bluetooth extenders. I've never used any of these, but there are plenty of them, and they do exactly what you'd expect them to do. You put them in between your phone. I mean, honestly, most people just bring the phone out by the pool. But if you don't want to do that, there's one on Amazon I'm looking at called the Micus, M-I-C-C-U-S, $40. It goes 160 feet. So you can plug your phone into that and get all the way out to the radio out by the pool. And that $40, cool. That's cheap. Yeah, I have to. The one thing I would say is I haven't used it, so I can't vouch for it.
We just want to show off the beauty of this radio because you worked hard on it, put LED lights in it and everything.
Of course,
so it's really good.
Of course, give me the website again. I didn't get it, so I want to look at these.
It's his name is Nick. The website is wavelengthantiques.com. WAVELENGHT antiques.com.
Wavelengthantiques.com. What a good idea. So he takes antique radios. Oh, look at all the fun stuff he has.
Yeah.
Oh, Dick has featured this. He did an interview with the guy on the GizWiz. All right. Figures. Dick likes those old radios too. Look at this. How fun. What's yours look like?
Yeah. Like I said, well, we have an old cabinet one, like turns into like a furniture, and then the old plunger, the TNT Panasonic blue one. It's really cool. It didn't make the picture on the web. So.
How fun!
but
yeah, these look mostly a little more modern, like 50s. But I would love to see something like those old giant cabinets. They look like cathedrals, and they kind of were cathedrals to broadcasting in the living room. Awesome. Wavelengthantiques.com. Glad to give him a plug and glad to help you out there.
Perfect. Great show. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thanks for calling. Yeah. There is, by the way, we should, as long as I'm talking Bluetooth and why you don't want it to be too distant, there's a new Bluetooth attack called Knob, K-N-O-B. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It stands for Key Negotiation of Bluetooth. And what the attack does is it tells the Bluetooth does have encryption. It does have some protection in it, a key. But what it does is it tells Bluetooth, okay, because apparently the key can be variable length. It tells the Bluetooth, make the key really short, like one letter. And then it'd be easy to guess, 26 letters. How hard can that be to run through it? Actually, I think technically what it does is it makes it an octet, which means there's even fewer possible choices. So pretty simple to hack Bluetooth, I guess, is the point. This was another one of those, it came out at DEF CON announcements. The Bluetooth Special Interest Group, which oversees it, says, well, we're going to try to fix it. And I think they can fix it. Microsoft has patched it in Windows. Apple has patched it in Mac OS, iOS, and Watch OS. Google's patched it for Android. So I think for most folks, this is probably all right. I'll put a link to the United States Computer Emergency Response Team, or CERT's, publication about Knob. I do like the name, K-N-O-B. What's going to happen if somebody, it's not a big deal if somebody hacks your speaker, right? They'll get to change the music. But it could be a bigger deal. There are other things you use Bluetooth for, including some security devices that, or maybe even, this is the one I'd worry about, your doorknob. I probably will not put a Bluetooth-enabled lock on my front door anytime soon. That just seems like a recipe for disaster, doesn't it? All right, I'm going to sneak in one more call here before we take a break. That's Brian in Gold River, Vancouver, British Columbia. Hello, Brian.
Hi there. It's actually Vancouver Island, about
it's not Canada.
Half ferry ride.
It's Washington State.
No, it's Canada.
Oh, it is. Never mind. My geography. I'm very confused by that whole Vancouver thing. Okay, but it's still beautiful. It's a beautiful area. I love that area.
Yeah, lots of orcas and all that kind of stuff up this way. Great. The important question I have to get answered is our TELUS webmail, which is our ISP, has been down. It's going on 4 days now.
Oh, man.
Small company with 3 offices. And
TELUS is a big company. TELUS is a big it's a national company. You're telling me they can't get this fixed?
All the way from Calgary West is what's going on.
Oh, man.
That's a big part of the country.
Holy
cow. So I'm looking at changing to the Gmail SMTP on our printer to scan the email.
Everybody, and if you're using your internet service provider's mail, stop. Don't. They never provide a decent solution. Get Google's mail solution is free, Gmail. Excellent. And you can use their SMTP, which is their outbound mail sender, so you can get mail out, but you'll have to use your Google account to do it.
We're on G Suite with our corporate. We're affiliated with Century 21, so that's how that works.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the important thing. Now, I have some hints for anybody that's bought one of these cheap Android TV boxes.
Yes.
Something that came up with you and your sound guy having problems with Chrome on during your telecast with the Skype. Clicked with me. I uninstalled Chrome on this cheap little box, and it's a 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of storage.
Oh, yeah. Chrome would not run well on that. I'm surprised they put Chrome on there.
Shut down the run in the background setup on the app. So I uninstalled it.
Good man.
It's working like it's twice as fast. It's not freezing. And this, in Gold River, which is one of our outlying offices, we only have 250 kilobytes download at the cable provider. It's a small cable provider. And that's pretty slow. But at any rate, it is giving us now, we can watch movies. We can.
Nice. What a clever idea. Is it fairly easy to uninstall?
Yes, it's just an Android app. You go into the App Store and uninstall it.
Brilliant. Yeah, they should never put it on there in the first place. If you want to use Chrome, you can Chromecast to the device and use the Chrome on your laptop instead. Silly.
Yeah, well,
silly to put on that.
This little box, it's called an X96 Mini, and it's been sort of gee, I wish I hadn't bought it kind of start with, but it was one of these
it was cheap.
$7 on can't pass.
If you're willing to spend a couple of $100 and you want a good Android TV device, there's only one. It comes from NVIDIA. It's the NVIDIA Shield, and it is absolutely fantastic. I'm reading the update on the TELUS.
I think we'll be there.
Yeah. I'm reading an update on the TELUS.net email outage. We understand how critical this service is to our customers. I assure you we're how many days? 3 days? I assure you we're taking this disruption very seriously. Our technicians have been working around the clock. Oh, please.
It's hardware, and I get how they haven't taken a cloud server and spun up, or like DigitalOcean.
There's no excuse. Yes, exactly. There's no excuse. Yeah, time to shift over to a Gmail or something. Anything. Microsoft Outlook. Anything would be better. Thanks for the call. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's ridiculous. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number, website, techguylabs.com. More of your calls coming up. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Give me that old-time rock and roll. Thanks to Big Pee-wee, our musical director. He is so good. He is so good. Myron, Minneapolis. Hello, Myron.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing?
I am well. Did I just call it Minneapolis? I think I did. Minneapolis.
I've told you before. I'm the mailman in Minneapolis.
Nice to talk to you. Nice to talk to you.
I'm my first question, and then I want to make a comment, or not a comment, but whatever. Do you know anything about VPN City?
I do not. What is VPN City?
Well, it's advertisements in Facebook, of course, so you never know. But it's a VPN that you can get,
here's the thing. Let me give you my take. I don't know anything about VPN City, but I'll give you my takes on VPN. So VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network, is originally VPNs were something you used with work. If your company had a corporate intranet, an internal network, you'd have to be on site to use it until VPNs came along. And I remember in the old days, you'd have to put some special software from Cisco on there, and you'd fire it up, and you'd be able to log into your corporate network from home in a secure fashion, as if you're at work. That's how people first started using it. But they realized quickly, this has a benefit. One, all my traffic in the outside world is encrypted, so no one can see what I'm doing. So it's more secure. Plus, my internet service provider can't see anything. They can't see what I'm doing, so it's more private. So a number of companies set up the same kind of VPN your work was setting up. You need a server using, in most cases, a software that was freely available called OpenVPN, and they'd put servers all over the world. You'd use software to log into their server, and your ISP couldn't see what you were doing. And when you emerged on the internet, you were emerging from their server, the VPN server, in a country, a different country sometimes with a different IP address. So your privacy is protected, and anybody in between you and the VPN server couldn't hack you, because everything was encrypted. They couldn't spy on you. They couldn't hack you. Of course, all you're doing with a VPN is kicking the can down the road. I'm sorry about this long explanation, but this is the point. Is whatever privacy or security issue you have locally is now kicked down to the VPN server. So anytime you use a VPN, you're placing trust in that VPN provider because they have all of the access that the hacker at your coffee shop had, that the ISP had, that anybody snooping on you had, because you're coming out into the public, into the world through their server. So what's of vital importance is that they have a properly configured VPN that doesn't leak information and that they don't log information and that they're not spying on you and they're not misusing your traffic. There are VPNs out there that will put ads into your browser that will, collect information and sell it to the highest bidder. So you're kicking the can down the road, but you still have to trust somebody. So I don't know anything about VPN City. I'm looking at Tech Radar. I think they're pretty good. They say the speed is good. You get a free month during beta, unblocks Netflix and iPlayer. Now, that's an issue because both iPlayer, which is the BBC's player, and Netflix, they have geographic restrictions. They don't want you to play. BBC, for instance, doesn't want you to see anything if you're not in England, if you're not in the UK, because you didn't pay the TV license fees. Netflix, same thing. They have different licensing for different countries. They very actively seek out VPNs and block them. So VPN City might work for now, but there's no guarantee they'll continue to work unless they're doing something really weird. It's based in Hong Kong. That is itself a problem because remember, Hong Kong is semi-autonomous, but is owned by China. I didn't realize. Okay, they only have 9 locations. They use the soft ether protocol only. I don't recommend that. And it's brand new, so there's no pricing. I don't know anything about them. I would just say you really got to research the company because you're trusting them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm going to look at their privacy policy. The problem with you should always read any VPN's privacy policy, but the problem with that is there's no actual way to enforce it, especially because they're in Hong Kong. So they can say anything they want. I'm sure they say all the right things. Our sponsor is ExpressVPN, but before I accepted their advertising, I investigated them thoroughly. They're based out of the Canaries, although... and this doesn't surprise me, most of the big VPNs like Express and Nord, the ownership is unclear. They don't, for good reason, they don't want any government to know who really owns them. So the VPN City may not actually be in Hong Kong. They may just be registered in Hong Kong. Nord and Express may not be actually in the Canary Islands or the Caribbean. They may be registered there, but actually be somewhere else. And no one knows. It's very hard to figure that out. The only reason I feel pretty good about ExpressVPN, besides the fact that they have been third-party audited, that was really important to me. I want to make sure they've been third-party audited so that they do live up to their privacy policy. But there's also good evidence that they don't do any of this logging because, well, there was a case, and, you know, I don't like to mention it because it's not a nice story, but there was an assassination in Turkey, and the suspect was using ExpressVPN, and the authorities subpoenaed ExpressVPN and seized their server. Actually, probably in Turkey, they didn't have to subpoena it. They just went and got it. They seized the server. So they didn't just go, hey, ExpressVPN, tell us what you know about the assassination of the Russian ambassador. They just went and said, give us the server, and they couldn't get anything on it. There was no log. That proves there was no logging. They could not get anything. So the server was seized in January 2017. The case is still open. But they were able to get nothing from that. Now, if I'm the police in Turkey, I'm not too happy about that. But frankly, this is the story I'm reading. I'll put a link into it. This is from December 2017 by Paul Bischoff. He says, ExpressVPN cooperated with authorities. Of course, that's always going to happen. That's why Hong Kong worries me. You can't not cooperate with the authorities of the country you're in. You just have to. But had no information to give regarding the case. The company is incorporated in the British Virgin Islands, which has no mandatory data retention requirements. ExpressVPN says these seizures are not uncommon. This isn't the first time officials have confiscated a server, but we don't keep anything. ExpressVPN's terms of service do forbid using it for illegal activities, but we don't monitor it, so we can't really enforce it. Edward Snowden says VPNs are good, but their weakness is the single port of failure. Hack or subpoena that one point to see everything. So you really want one that doesn't log. Are you leaving, Alexander? Pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Keep listening. I can't wait till you catch up.
3 years and I'll
Hey, put this in the podcast. Hey, Alexander of the future. I hope you enjoy this show. Future Alexander. All right. Take care. Go have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. It's time to boogie down. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's all right. 8888, Ask Leo. Let's get back to the phones here. Line 3, Richard in Paducah, Kentucky. Hello, Richard.
Greetings, Leo.
Leo. Fancy. Hi, Richard.
How are you doing today?
I am well. How are you?
Good. I have an issue. I'm visually impaired, and I have a audiobook intro to teaching me how to play the piano.
Oh, nice.
It was a downloaded MP3 file.
Okay.
Which I was able to take it to iTunes, convert it to an audiobook.
Oh, nice.
But on my desktop, it won't allow me to get it to my iOS device, which would be able to play it in my Starkey hearing aid.
Okay, so converting it to an audiobook really on iTunes is just going into the metadata. You can do it by getting the info on a thing and clicking the box that says, I think it says audiobook, or it might say spoken word.
Right, which I've done that.
And that converts it to an M4. It's normally an M4A, but it converts it to an M4B. See, an MP3 doesn't support this standard. MP3 doesn't know about audiobooks. The thing about an audiobook versus music, with music, if you listen to a song, you always want to start at the beginning. You don't want to start in the middle. But when you're listening to a 14-hour audiobook and you're on hour 13, the last thing you want to do is start at the beginning. You want to start where you left off. So, in effect, spoken word files on iTunes that are marked as audiobooks, it says, oh, yeah, start where you left off. It keeps track. It bookmarks it, in effect. And that's exactly what you want. The way Apple does this is it doesn't change the format at all. It just has metadata. It sets the metadata to audiobook, and then it changes the file extension. AAC files in iTunes are M4A files. It changes it to M4B, and then it knows, oh, yeah, this is a book. Now, I presume that all of that has happened. It's in AAC format, right?
Correct, and I can play it in iTunes on my computer.
Does it do the right thing on the computer? Does it?
It does correct. It does correctly on the computer. It transferred it to iTunes on my phone, but I got 80 to 90 copies of it.
Huh. What?
I mean, it just keeps. I guess every
and you
time
can't
I think in my phone.
You can't play it back. And you can't play it back.
Well, I don't know which one to start with. Again.
Oh, man.
You know, I mean.
Why is it copying it over and over again? That's weird.
Right. So I've still got the downloads. And what I was wondering if there is an iOS app or a Mac app to convert them that I can transfer them to the iOS and bypass iTunes.
Well, my guess. Let me think about this. You could try iBooks, which is Apple's Books program, which has a desktop and a iOS version, and will synchronize. So this
won't transfer. It will only transfer purchased items.
Oh, really?
That's where I'm having the problem.
Okay, that's not right. So, I get it. You're not synchronizing. You're just checking the box that says transfer purchased items.
Right. And then,
no. See, this is what you want to do.
Okay.
If you're not sighted, this is a little tricky.
I'm low vision. So.
Okay, you could probably see enough or get somebody to help you. What you want to be doing is add it to your iTunes library, and then when you connect your phone or your device to your computer, go into the settings for that device on what to synchronize. And there's a checkbox that says synchronize audiobooks. And you can synchronize music too, you can synchronize apps, there's a lot of other things you can synchronize, but in this case, you want it to synchronize the audiobook. So delete all the copies. That's a mess.
Yeah.
Start over. Delete all the music. Add it to your iTunes library. Make sure it's in the right format. So remember that the computer can play more formats than the phone can. So make sure it's an M4B in AAC format, and you can check the format to see. And then add it to your library, and then when they're in the settings, this is the old way of doing it, and Apple really needs to fix this, but they haven't yet. So the idea is you aren't supposed to just randomly. On an Android phone, I can connect it to the computer. It looks like a hard drive. I can drag a file over. I can put it in the music folder. I can put it wherever I want. And I can play it back from any app I want. Apple doesn't do it that way because they say, well, that's not secure, or we don't want to puzzle our users. So they pretend there's no file system at all. There's no way to look at a phone without some specialized software to do it. You have to synchronize through iTunes. So you need to add whatever you're going to put on your phone, you need to add it to the iTunes music library. If it's audiobooks or if it's audio of any kind. If it's notes, for instance, if you're using GoodNotes, you'd add it to the GoodNotes folder, and it would automatically synchronize. But in this case, you're going to add it to iTunes Music Library. You're going to go into the settings for the device you're copying to and set the sync settings. There's boxes that say synchronize everything. There's boxes that say synchronize checked files. And there's a box that says synchronize audiobooks, among others. Synchronize audiobooks, and that should just automatically copy over. And it'll copy the bookmark too, by the way.
Well, when I did that, it's not showing up. Like when I go to the audiobook section, it doesn't show up as a saved audiobook.
Well, there's something then in the format or the
that I'm missing.
Yeah, or the ID3, or it's not called ID3, but in the metadata of the file, there's something wrong.
I'm manipulating this information through GetInfo.
Not GetInfo on the file. Do this all in iTunes.
After I've imported it to iTunes.
You import it to iTunes, and then from within the iTunes interface, click on the book, GetInfo there.
That's how I've done it.
Yeah, and then the settings for synchronizing the audiobooks are not in GetInfo. Those are in the settings for that device, for the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. The only thing Apple's done to update this is you don't have to physically connect it with a USB cable. Now, all bets may be off in the next version of macOS, which comes out next month, Catalina, because they've eliminated iTunes. Well, kind of. There's a music app, there's a podcasts app, and there's a books app, and there's a movies app, or I guess they call it TV app, which I think all they did is they chopped up iTunes into 3 smaller pieces, but maybe, I don't know. And the synchronizing no longer happens in iTunes at all, but happens at the operating system level. So that means they've moved that part up into the menu bar. So it's all weird and different, but maybe it's better. Maybe. And everybody on Windows, sorry, not for you. You must still use iTunes. I'm an Apple Mac user. I like Macs. And I use an iPhone and all that. But honestly, like every tech company, Apple's age is showing. What happens is you do something really great, and then over the years you add a little here, add a little more. You build a beautiful sandcastle, and then you slap some more on the side and on the top, and pretty soon you just got an ugly, sandy lump. And you got to let the tide come and wash it away and start over. But Apple refuses to do that. And in fact, I don't even think Catalina is going to fix it. I think all they did is they took that lumpy, ugly sandcastle and divided it into 3 parts, slap more stuff on it. It's going to be just as sandy and ugly as ever. But it's hard because, I don't know. Why is it hard? It shouldn't be hard. Apple has more money than God. They could take a couple of billion, hire some really good programmers, put them off in a shed somewhere and say, don't come back till you fix this. And oh, by the way, we're not going to give you any of the old code. We want you to start fresh. That's the way to do it. I don't know why they haven't. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We got one more segment for the weekend, then we're going to wrap this puppy up. Don't forget the website, though. It's there all week for you. TechGuyLabs.com. Of course, Big Pee-wee. Big Pee-wee, our musical director. Thanks also to Kim Schaffer. Kimmy Don't Take No Schaffer, our phone angel. Thanks to you for joining us. It's kind of fun doing this every weekend. I kind of like it. I hope you like it. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Let's see. Line 4, Richard, West L.A. Thank you for hanging on, Richard. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Leo, when I try to print email from Gmail, I sometimes don't get the whole page. Either either or both the bottom and sometimes the right part does not print. Any idea what's going on?
Yeah, there's a variety of things. First of all, always use the Gmail print command as opposed to just, using your own system print command. Don't use the browser's print command because Gmail actually reformats the page a little bit to print it properly. So when you're in an email, there's a little teeny-weeny printer icon in the upper right corner of the email. Is that what you use to print?
I usually do, and I must admit I don't remember if I tried that and I had the same bad result or not, but I'll definitely...
Well, try that because it's going to reformat it. And then the other thing you can do is... in fact, let me look at this. I'm going to press it because, it reformats it in a way that it should be able to print pretty well. If you still have that problem, you'll see in the print dialog that pops up, after you press print, a little window pops up and says which printer you want to go to. You'll want to go to page setup and make sure that it's set properly. So there's a couple of things, and this depends on your printer. Most printers have a checkbox that says fit to page. If you're not getting the whole printout, then click that box and that should shrink it a little bit. You can even do that manually. If it doesn't have a fit to page checkbox, it'll have a scaling box and you can scale it down from 100% to something a little smaller that fits. And the good thing about page setup is most of the time it'll be remembered, in this case, by your browser. So that'll be the default next time you try to print anything from your browser. It'll scale it. So I'm looking, I'm in a different printer and everything, but I'm looking and I see there's a page setup and there's also options, and under options it says ignore scaling and fit page, shrink to fit page width. That's the one I would check to make sure that it would print in. But yeah, use Gmail's print button because it's reformatting it. If you use the browser, it'll print it as you see on the browser screen. Sometimes you want that, but there's a lot of extra stuff you don't need that's not part of that email.
I get you. Okay. Well,
all right. Give it a shot. I hope it works. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Richard. No, that was Richard. John, San Diego. Hello, John. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Leo, I have a Android box version 9, a new one, and I can't get it to do cut and paste on any of my Google apps or whatnot. Any ideas on that?
That's weird. So when you say an Android box, you mean a Chrome box?
It's Android TV box.
Oh, it's Android TV. Oh, Android TV. And so you've got a keyboard and cut and paste doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a Q Plus Android 9. It's a 4 gig RAM, 32 gigabytes. So it has speed and everything. It just, when I cut and paste stuff, I can highlight it. When I then go back to right mouse and click again to cut or paste it, it just goes back to the last, to what I was previous.
Boy, you got me. It's Android, so cut and paste, it should work the same way as it does on an Android device.
Yeah, and I've tried it on multiple different apps. I've been using Google, then I went into Firefox. I was able to get it to say cut and paste, but on some of their, and then it wouldn't work.
So I'm looking on the Android TV subreddit. Thank you, Scooter X, our chat mod, who found a post on the Android subreddit. This is from a year ago, but it does say, my Android box can't copy paste in any browser. Is there a fix for it? And at least on this thread, there was a fix for it, which is kind of a weird fix. But apparently, there is another keyboard you could try and install called the Hacker's Keyboard. I'm not familiar with this, but look in the Play Store for keyboards and see if you can find the Hacker's Keyboard, and apparently that fixes it.
Okay.
So it has to do with the keyboard you're using, and I guess that the default keyboard on this Android device can't cut and paste. You might try any other one, but the guy on the Reddit subreddit said I was able to use the Hacker's Keyboard in the Play Store. If you don't see that makes me nervous, the name. But yeah. Hackers, the word hacker has been co-opted to mean something bad. Really, hackers are just anybody who kind of takes technology and tries to bend it to his will. Not always in a bad way, often a very good way. So I'm going to hope that that's what they mean. Hacker's keyboard can do cut and paste. But if that doesn't work, try Swift.
I played around with other keyboards. I couldn't get the other.
Couldn't get them either. Okay.
No.
Okay. And Mike B has found an add-in that is actually a Google add-in. This might be a better one to use. Office editing. Let's see. This is in the Play Store. The name of it, and it's from Google, is Office Editing for Docs, Sheets, and Slides. And Mike B says that fixed his cut and paste issue on his Android device. So at least this one's from Google. Maybe you'll try that first. Search the Play Store for Office Editing for Docs, Sheets, and Slides. Probably Office Editing's enough. And
but is that a keyboard or is it an app?
It's a simple add-on. It's an add-on. I'll put a link in the show notes too. Thank you, Mike B. This has been around for several years, and apparently this was recommended on our All About Android show as well. So I apologize for not knowing that off the top of my head, but we have a chat room that knows all and says all, tells all.
All right.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate the call,
Thank
John. This is one of the best parts about doing this show is that when you call and ask for an answer, you're not just asking me. You're asking, of course, everybody listening to the show. And we often get calls from people who say, I know. But also the vast wisdom, and I say that in quotes, of the chat room, air quotes, wisdom of the chat room. There's how many people are in there right now? Maybe 400 or 500 people who watch the show religiously. The good news is they've memorized all my shtick. So if I forget the name of a program or can't remember a tip, they'll remember it, which is very handy. They also are very adept, especially our chat room mods. We have quite a few moderators in there. Scooter X is one of them. Our chat room mods are very adept at Googling things. So they will Google stuff. So Mike B found that add-in, and Scooter X, our chat mod, found that hacker's keyboard. If you want to be part of this, I call him Team Tech Guy. I also call them, I call them many names, but I also call them my brain in a jar because they have a better memory than I do. You can join them anytime during our shows, any of the shows, at irc.twit.tv. Yes, there's more than just the radio show, which I do every weekend. We have and have had for about 14 years now a podcast network for tech enthusiasts. It's called This Week in Tech. TWIT, and you can find it at twit.tv. And there are podcasts for Windows, Android, iOS, Macintosh, open source software. There's a security podcast. It's very popular, Security Now. And there's our big news roundtable and our weekly news show. There's lots of tech information at twit.tv. So please, if during the week, and by the way, this show is also there as a podcast. If during the week you feel like you need more tech, you want to get hardcore, the chat room's now giving me a hard time. You can go to twit.tv. And, of course, you can always join us in the chat room. It's a lot of fun. And sometimes I will, at home, when I'm not on the air, I will sneak into the chat room and surprise them. I will irc.twit.tv. Our website for the radio show is techguylabs.com. That's where we put everything that happens on the show, including audio and video of the show after the fact. All 1,619 episodes are up there. More than 15 years of great information. Some of it's even still good 15 years later. And there's no fee, no sign up. No salesman will call. TechGuyLabs.com. You can even leave your comments there. In fact, I wish you would, because that really helps make the show even more useful for everybody. TechGuyLabs.com. Thanks again, Big Pee-wee. Good job today, Big Pee-wee. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.